Hello. So it's nearly Christmas, and I've got some. Is that a bogey? It's just a spot. I've got some plans coming up shortly, and I'm not going to be able to make or really be on the internet at all for a little while. Into next year, definitely. Anyway, so I thought I'd kind of end this year by by telling you a little story that I kind of found interesting that they told to me when they came into my house. I'm sick of saying that phrase, honestly. when they cuckooed me, I'm sick of using that fucking expression as well. But those who've listened know what I'm talking about. So that kind of point where my life just went fucking crazy madness, where it just was like the shock factor. That kind of, what's the fucking worst thing that's going to happen moment. Well, that was it. But they told me a little kind of tale and kind of showed me things, So I'm going to tell you about it. When I was little, when I was a toddler, I had this little toy. I don't remember this soft toy, but I was told this story about it, that when I was a kid, I had this soft toy. And I referred to, no one ever described it to me. When my parents told me this story about this toy, they would just tell me what I referred to it as and told me it was double-sided. So it had a happy face on one side, and then you turned it the other way up, and it had a sad face on the other side. It was a soft toy, like a teddy bear, I assumed, but there was no photos of this, and I was a toddler, so I had no memory of it. But I used to refer to it as half face, sad face, so happy face, sad face, but I obviously couldn't say it properly, so it was half face, sad face. And I lost it one day when I was a toddler, or it disappeared, and my dad said that I was just devastated, I was really upset about it, about this little toy. And he said I'd be all right for a few days, and then I'd remember. He said I was really attached to it, and I would remember it, and then I'd just start crying all over again, going half face, sad face, and crying, But again, I don't remember it. So when they came in my house, they kind of told me, they were telling me reminding me of this little story, about this little toy I had. And then they showed me two soft toys that were in my house, and one of them was a doll. It was like a patchwork style doll that a guy I worked with had given to my eldest child when she was born. I was in the army at the time. I was serving in the army when she was born. And this guy's name, was Marty Kill. Marty Kill, initials MC. But the Kill and the Marty, again, I guess it's just one of those names that's kind of got significance. I won't have time to go into it. If I do, I will at the end. But he gave me this, and it was weird because he didn't give it to me, or give it to my daughter, sorry, as soon as she was born. It was like a little while after, but it kind of stood out because at the time, not a lot of people, and I was in the army, and you're meant to be in a kind of part of a community, it's meant to be like one big family. But again, in looking back, I can see kind of how I was targeted still at that time, how I was kind of kept isolated, how I was kind of kept apart from people, how I wasn't, I was really not given any kind of attention or friendship the way that other people were. But I didn't see at the time. I never had any expectations on myself because I pretty much always thought that I was worthless anyway. So I never I never expected anything from anyone, and I certainly never got it. But I was really young when she was born, but having a baby and then having all these people around you that a so-called a community, within the military, and not really receiving many gifts for my baby, for our baby. It seems weird now, considering the people that I've known over the years, and I've always made sure to give gifts to people when they've had babies, and it was never reciprocated to me. But again, I always kind of thought of myself as pretty worthless, and I never ever expected anything from anybody, and thus I was never disappointed. But Marty Kill gave this little rag doll to my daughter about 6 months after she was born, just kind of out of the blue, and we weren't even particularly friendly with him. It was kind of weird. Then fast forward to my next child, and when my next child was born, a woman who had been friendly with my parents since I was a child, her name's Mary Cluley, MC Mary Cluley, and she was she was involved in the gang stalking of my parents, and then when my parents died, she stayed in touch with me. But she gave this teddy, to my youngest child when they were born, and the rag doll has a happy face and the teddy has a sad face. So when they came in my house, they showed me a photograph of this half-face, sad-face toy that I had when I was a kid, and it was the one face was the teddy that they gave to my youngest, and the other face was the rag doll that Marty Cowwood gave to my eldest. So they'd taken this doll, you know, from me when I was a toddler, and then kind of cut it in half, if you like. And stitched like different legs onto both versions, or new, or another part of another doll, or fucking rebuilt it, whatever they did, and then give it and split in two over, you know, over a time period. You know, my children have quite a there's quite a gap in ages between them, you know, so they'd given it, made sure that two people, both with the initials MC. I don't know. I mean, you could argue mind control, couldn't you? You could argue that. I mean, they would try and argue that it was actually, or you could argue CW or WC. They see double of you. They see double you. You know. But I'm sure they would argue it stood for CM, child molester. I'm sure. I'm sure that's what they would like those initials to stand for, or that's what they would like me to always believe that those initials stand for sure, no doubt. Whether this story is true or not, I have no idea. Whether they've just come up with, they've got this photo, they've doctored a photo and said that this is what they've done to make me think that they have more involvement than they have, you know. But it just seemed a very odd kind of story, and it seemed the kind of relations between the two people's names and why to bring this up, you know. And I suppose that at the time when they told me it, and afterwards, the feeling that I got was as though they wanted me to think, well, you know, we have total control over your life if we've been doing this to you for 40 years, you know, and we've kept this fucking toy for when you were a little baby, and then split it in two and given it to half of it to each of your children, just to maybe try and I don't know, so I would maybe have some kind of recognition, or to keep me in a trauma state, or to see if I remembered, or whatever the reason was. If this is true, that is, you know, that is an if, isn't it? You know, I don't want to not believe what they say, but then at the same time, I'm like, these people are kind of mostly liars. But why come up with this kind of elaborate fucking story? It doesn't make any sense. But like I say, it was probably to get me thinking, well, they have total control over everything. But in reality, it gets me thinking, you know, rather than being the worthless person that you've kind of led me to believe that I am throughout my whole life, I must be fucking worth something if you're going to that trouble to steal a fucking soft toy off me when I'm a baby, you know. You don't do that for a nobody. If I was a nothing, you would just sit back and watch me fucking destroy myself. You wouldn't have any need to do any of this stuff, or to kind of infiltrate my children's lives, or to have these fucking mad people, you know, stay in my life forevermore, like Mary Cluley, you know. It's just, I thought I'd share that with you because it's coming up to Christmas, and like I said, it's Christmas in a couple of days. It's actually my birthday today, so happy birthday to me. I don't look a day over fucking pension age, probably. They've for sure aged me. It's like, it's laughter lines. I don't, I don't know where the fuck they come from, since I've got nothing to laugh about. Yeah, so I've got some kind of plans in the near future, and I'm not going to be online probably for a little while, but I will let you all know in due course. And I just want to say, you know, because it's coming up to Christmas, but I don't celebrate Christmas only because I have no reason to celebrate it and no one to celebrate it with. And even in the past, you know, it was always a really kind of small affair, and just with my kids. And I really enjoyed the kind of food aspect of it. You know, I love to cook. I'm a good cook, and I love to eat, obviously, as well. You know, so so I kind of miss the food, and I obviously miss the company as well. So I just kind of wanted to say, you know, happy Christmas to you all, and happy New Year if you celebrate it, and to my kids, you know, if you ever watch this, you know, I love you. I'll always love you, and I think about you every day. Lots of love. Take care. Bye bye.